watching Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance, and we are joined today by Kevin Hunt. He is the General Manager of the Central Basin Municipal Water District, whose responsibility is what?
We provide wholesale water from the Metropolitan Water District to 1.7 million people in southeast LA County. Also provide recycled water and conservation and water resource planning services. We do it through 47 retail agencies, 1 wholesale agency, 24 cities in the service area, and a portion of unincorporated LA County.
Busy.
Quite. Wonderful service area.
I want to speak about a recent report issued by the California State Auditor. I think it's fair to say that she provided some very specific recommendations because of some very dramatic concerns she expressed with regard to how the district was being operated. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
That's a fair assessment.
So talk to me about what the audit provided, what the recommendations were, and if you are choosing to implement those recommendations.
Yeah. First off, we earned the audit. The actions of the district weren't always what they should have been, and we all recognize that. And the audit came out with 25 recommendations, which had 10 subsets, and 1 recommendation to the legislature. And most of them are good governance, having to do with how you procure projects, how you hire people, how you implement contracts, board compensation, many things like that. One of them has to do with governance. We plan on implementing every single recommendation that the audit has. Many of them we've already done. Out of the 35 detail, when you break down to 25, it comes out to be 35 with subsets. We've already implemented 9 of them, and many others are on the way. But there is a couple of ones that are thorny, and the particular issue is governance.
What people may not realize is that water districts will often have elected members serving as kind of a governing body, and then you have a staff who are full-time employees. The governing board members are not full-time employees, but yet they do have a significant amount of power. And I don't mean that pejoratively, but they're part-time. I mean, they have full-time jobs themselves.
It's very similar to a city council or a board of
smaller city council, right?
Yeah, we only have 22 employees for our service area, but we do have elected officials. They each represent 300,000 to 400,000 people, so it's a good-sized service area for them, and they have a lot of responsibilities for that. We also have a responsibility to the agencies that buy our water, particularly the customers that we have. So there's always a little bit of tension. Our directors are elected by the public, but a lot of our money comes directly from the water utilities that we serve.
It's hard to deny that water districts are in the news. Why are they in the news? Well, we're facing a drought. And so Central Basin is not unique. I mean, there are questions about several water districts and governing issues. Are we at a turning point for the best, that the water districts are now getting the attention they deserve, and so they can improve how they operate?
I think so. I think people will look back on this point. And first I want to make a point of complimenting the staff of the State Auditor's Office. They did an incredible job, very professional. They did very, very well. And so their recommendations are going to set a very high standard. We're implementing them. We thought we had a good procurement process. It's better. We thought it had good sole source contracting process form. They made it better. So they've made our processes better. We think they're going to be models that other people can match up to.
So what is the state legislature going to have to do now? Because you said one of them dealt with a recommendation to that body.
Yeah, and I think first I have to mention that the question of does the district, do we recognize our responsibility? Are we reforming? Are we changing? The answer is yes.
Okay.
We gave a presentation to the board that started out with a quote from Spanish philosopher George Santayana saying, "Those who refuse to remember history are condemned to repeat it."
You didn't use the quote from Mark Twain, which is whiskey's for what is it? What?
Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting.
Exactly.
No. We didn't use that one. We're not. But at the end of it, though, I used to quote from Shaggy and from a country singer, Kip Moore. Shaggy had a song that was called "Wasn't Me," and Kip Moore had a song said, "I'm to blame." And I explained to the board that we as a staff and as a board, none of us were totally to blame, but all of us had some blame. And the board accepted it. We said, yeah, we're going to learn from this. We're going to go forward.
That's humble.
They did. And I was very proud of them and the staff. I mean, and I think going forward from this, there are a lot of things we can. Now, the governance issue is very complex because you're trying to the recommendation they made was maybe they should have an appointed board. 47 agencies trying to appoint will have 47 directors for 22 full-time equivalent employees. So it doesn't quite work. There's talk of a hybrid where you have 5 elected and 2 appointed, but how do you appoint them?
Right.
The legislatures have been the legislature we've been very, very understanding. They think, I guess the best way to put it, everyone wants the same thing. They want the reforms that we put in place to stick.
So
if they can come up with a way of governance that will help it stick. So they're open. We're actually going to go through a process, facilitated workshops with our purveyors, outreach to the community, meetings with our legislators.
I mean, here's what I see. Look, these elected officials, you know, they have 300,000 constituents, 400,000 constituents. They're serving close to 2 million people, but yet these are not full-time jobs. I mean, they're not even part-time jobs. Would they get paid $100 a meeting? I mean,
a little more than that.
But still, I mean, they're faced with such grand issues, and yet we've set a system up whereby how are they going to be able to oversee an agency when this is less than a part-time job?
Well, I think that the role of the director is to set policy and to manage the overall goals of the district being achieved. They're not to get into day-to-day running of the district in terms of personnel issues and stuff. I
understand.
So if you set the right processes in place, so procurements are done correctly, hiring is done correctly, have good managers in place, then the process should enable them to concentrate on the major issues. And I think that is an appropriate task.
But yet
they get up to 10 meetings a month. That's plenty of time.
But when you look at the audit, I mean, the audit was pretty stinging as it related to the elected directors. And I guess, you know, maybe I'm being too generous to the elected directors, but I can appreciate the pressures that someone that if you're an elected official and you also need to have a full-time job because the elected official job is not paying you what you need to live.
Yeah, and I guess my point is the amount of time that they need to devote to it. It's a public service. Don't get me wrong, it was never intended to be a full-time position.
But should it be? I mean, that's really the question. If the audit, I mean, the audit speaks clearly about the role of the governing directors. You know, maybe these should be full-time positions. Now, that's a whole other conversation.
No,
you don't want to go there.
Believe me, it's not that I don't respect what the directors do.
Right.
I think they do, but I think what you do when you have our job is being done by 22 people.
I understand, staffers.
So 22 staff can get the things that we need to do. So I don't think it requires full-time 5 people to govern it.
Right.
What we do need is to set clear policies and make the appropriate reviews of the budget and how things are proceeding with the district. And I think that's the appropriate role of the elected officials, in whether it's in the water district, a city, a county government.
Let's talk about the impending El Nino. Is the district ready to help us with our torrential rains? Let it be.
No, we are obviously, in our situation, we're not in flood control, but the county is doing an excellent job on us. It impacts us, and now we have to turn off the replenishment water we're currently delivering when it comes. Because when the rains we use the same flood control channels as with the stormwater flows will be. And it'll help us with our water conservation efforts. And one of the things we're very happy about, our population of 1.7 million, 50% of them disadvantaged have far exceeded the state's conservation goal.
That's true.
I mean, the goal was 16%. For us, they're at 23%. And at a price, by the way. You walk around our communities, there are brown lawns in many communities. The parks are hard as rock. And that's, we're hoping the end of the drought. El Nino we're looking forward to it, let's put it that way.
I can imagine. His name is Kevin Hunt. He is the general manager of the Central Basin Municipal Water District. I thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you for joining us on Charter Local Edition.